Are you ready? Hey, think you can tell us what to do?
Welcome, ladies and gents, to the most must-see podcast in wrestling history. Welcome to PWC. I'm your host, your mother's favorite. It is Vaz, and we've got a NXT review show for you. The yellow brand was in full force at the Capital Wrestling Center last night. And very rarely do I say this, but it was a show of two sides. The first hour was pretty lackluster, if that's something to call it by, and the second half was pretty much mind-blasting how good it was. We'll get into the review. Vascal coming up as well. But before we get to that review, please, guys, remember to subscribe and click that notification button. Tell your friends, parents, grandparents, lovers, haters, whoever you like. We've got all the reviews, all the lists, all the content right here on PWC. So please make sure you guys click on the link, share it to your friends, click subscribe and notify as well. Let's get to the reviews of NXT. So we kicked off NXT with a newly singles competitor in the women's division, that is Ember Moon. And they did give a nice little tribute to Shotzi. Of course, they've dropped the name Blackheart. She's now just known as Shotzi on the main roster. And yeah, so we've got Ember Moon was going one-on-one with Dakota Kai, a sort of a grudge match. The two of them need to just settle their differences. Good high-energy match, I'll give them that. A good opener, a good solid way to bring a show in. It wasn't the best performance between the two athletes, but it was a good grudge match. Like a good way to reintroduce Ember Moon as a singles competitor in the women's division for NXT. And I think a good showing for Dakota Kai. A lot of people overlook Dakota when it comes to the tandem of Dakota and Raquel Gonzalez. And yeah, they keep forgetting Dakota's actually a really good in-ring competitor. Probably one of the best in NXT's women's division and doesn't get showcased enough. The big talking point there is after Dakota Kai picked up the victory, Shia Lee's music hit, came down to the ring, walked right past Dakota Kai and stared straight into Raquel Gonzalez's eyes and challenged her for the NXT women's title. Gonzalez on the spot said, let's do it, and it has been confirmed. We will have a championship match next week. Is Shia Lee taking on Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT women's match, and I think that's going to be a great match there. Hopefully it can pan out into a good storyline. I'm loving the whole Shia Lee thing, although I felt like obviously now Martina Mercedes rather, that storyline has to just take a back burner after the injury to Mercedes, after that vicious roundhouse kick to the head a couple of weeks ago, or at the Great American Bash rather. And yeah, she is out with concussion indefinitely. There is no return policy on, no return date for her yet. And we know from recent history, WWE is taking concussions extremely seriously, as they should, by the way. And yeah, that's why there's no ring debut. It's one of the big reasons why Samoa Joe hasn't stepped in a ring for a while. Alexa Bliss is another one who hasn't stepped in a while. And apparently Dolph Ziggler is also under that treatment, which is why we haven't seen him in a while on SmackDown. We're not sure about that last one, but the other two pretty much confirmed that was their major issues, was major concussions. And I'm glad WWE is taking it seriously. They don't want another He Shall Not Be Named incident of 2005. You know, it's just something we don't want to see in the world in general, not just in wrestling. So big ups to them. And yeah, excited for that match. I think it'll be a great way and a good way to open up NXT. And then things took a bit of a turn. And they did take a bit of a bad turn, unfortunately, for NXT. We got a little backstage segment of the Diamond Mine and Malcolm Bivens discussing what the faction holds for the future, that they open for business, and they're all about the money. They've got one of the best wrestlers in NXT, they've got one of the best coaches in NXT, and one of the best prospects in NXT, and in my opinion, one of the best managers in NXT in Malcolm Bivens. If you watch Up, Down, Down, Battle of the Brands, you'll get the Malcolm Bivens reference. I love it. Anyway, then we had Bobby Fish, who hasn't appeared on NXT TV for a while, appear up and say he's ready to take on Roderick Strong. Bivens interjects and says, no, you taking on Tyler Rust instead. And the match was then next. We had that match. It was before we got to the match though, we had a little bit of a video footage of Mr. Cameron Grimes, baby, to the moon, pitching up at LA Knight's house to start his duties off as a butler. So the two of them had, and he didn't want to let him in the house because he looked scruffy, so he sent Grimes to the back and got himself a little bit of a makeover. He tied up his hair, he trimmed the beard, put him in a nice little butler's outfit, and Cameron Grimes was super ecstatic about being a butler, and he was a man of his word, and it started off good vignettes. I like that sort of style. It was, I think LA Knight and Cameron Grimes have a nice little playoff against each other, which is fantastic. But then we got to the match, Bobby Fish taking on Tyler Rust, and what could have been a really good match turned out to be a 3-minute disappointment instead. The match should have lasted a lot longer than 3 minutes. The distraction finish was almost basically predictable in the fact that Diamond Mind was there. It just felt so disjointed and terrible in general. Tyler Rust picked up the victory as we expected. He should have picked it up. They're building up Diamond Mine to be a lethal group. But it just felt very disjointed in this whole entire thing. The build up to it. We wanted to see maybe Bobby Fish taking on Roderick Strong, which would have been a better match-up, I think. But also, given the fact that they only got 3 minutes, was a bit of a letdown. Kushida coming out in the end as well to show that he's not done with Roderick Strong was, I felt pointless. And the NXT crowd gave it to us when they started chanting, "This is garbage," right after they chanted, "Let's go Fish," or "Let's go Bobby." So, yeah, not much else to say on that match. It was a bitter disappointment, and they continued that trend. And that trend did continue with the Sarai versus Gigi Dolan match. Now, we hadn't seen Gigi Dolan since the Dusty Rhodes Classic, the women's match. And listen, I'm going to put my personal feelings aside for Gigi Dolan. I don't think she was ready yet for a singles match. I think she needed a lot. Beautiful, beautiful athlete, though. Don't get me wrong. But just not ready. The big talking point about this match, though, it felt extremely uncharacteristic of Sarai. It felt like the moves were being forced rather than having it as an ebb and flow like her matches normally are. Gigi Dolan felt completely out of place. And the big talking point is the return of Mandy Rose. Yep, Mandy Rose just came out to the entranceway, stood there and watched the closing minutes of the match. Sarai picked up the victory, Mandy nodded and left. It was a very weird thing because Mandy Rose is currently with Dana Brooke on on Raw rather, and they're in quite a heated rivalry, one would expect, with Natalya and Tamina over the tag team championships there. But we didn't see them on Raw. And this is an interesting one. Yeah, not much. I don't know. I think it'll be a good move for Mandy. I think she's a fantastic wrestler. I think she needs redefining. Similar to the style of what happened to Ember Moon or Finn Balor. You know, that sort of get back to the roots of WWE and see how you can reproduce and get those characters. Tyler Breeze was another one who came back to NXT and became a solid member. And until he's released, very unfortunate. I still believe Tyler Breeze is one of the best in-ring competitors in NXT history, and very unfortunate he didn't get the proper push that he deserved. He's Prince Pity came, I'm digressing. But Mandy Rose is back in NXT. Again, the match itself, Sarai versus Gigi Dolan. You see, even now, while I was busy ranting about wrestlers going back, we forgot about how bad that match was, and it was bad. Then we got the second video package of LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. They were in the backyard of LA Knight and he told him that he needs to mow the lawn as a butler. That's what they do. Also told him to walk a couple of steps behind him and to call him Sir or Mr. Knight, which was, I thought, quite a funny little trope to the 80s there. Well done to them on that one. And then Cameron Grimes like, well, this is not a problem. I used to do this all the time with my pappy. and then try to get onto a tractor, but LA Knight was like, no, you got to use one of these, and he gave out one of those old school mowers with the handles and the little rotary thing with the spikes on them. And Cameron Grimes was like, yeah, let's do it, and he grabbed it, and then went on. It was a nice little break from the two poor matches that we had, which then brought us to a backstage segment with Legado de Fantasma talking about Hit Row and how offbeat they were and how terrible that was, and it's planting the seeds for a bit of a Hit Row versus Legado de Fantasma faction versus faction match, which I'm always a fan of. I love a good faction, which is fantastic. It then proceeded. Before that, we had the match between Pablo Escobar taking on, of course, the ever talkative Dexter Lumis. And this match was surprising. Like, I honestly always forget how good Dexter is in the ring. As a man who doesn't talk a lot, and a man who yes, his actions say a lot better than what he actually does. It's good. He is fantastic in the ring. And this match broadcasted the positives between Escobar and Lumis. The ending, typical heel faction as well. WWE loves doing this. A good distraction. I think it was Kim Wilde who took his arm into the turnbuckle while the ref wasn't looking, and then put him into the ring, and Escobar picked up the victory. 1, 2, 3. But what happened afterwards is what's the talking point. We had Indy Hartwell come down to try and save Dexter Lumis. Try to pick him up, fall over, which was hilarious. And then we're about to get our index moment. Our moment that we've all wanted. And I'm speaking about everybody because we want this to happen. They almost went in for the kiss. But Candice LeRae broke it up. I'm sad. We were going to get index. Maybe one day. Breakout tournament rather, match of NXT 2021, and we had Igamon Johnny taking on Duke Hudson from Adelaide, Australia. Japan taking on Australia was a fantastic match. I've watched a bit of Jury on 205 Live, which was fantastic. We all know what he's about. His high-flying moves are always on point. And not much was known about Duke Hudson going into this. He had a couple of dark matches on NXT. I haven't watched much of his indie stuff, but looked like a solid performance. And I think Wade Barrett pointed out quite a bit that he reminded him of a young Wade Barrett, and he did remind me of a young Wade Barrett. And don't forget, Wade Barrett did win the Season 1 NXT, so maybe some similarities coming there. I just want to give a bit of a shaming out to Beth Phoenix, saying how good the Australian wrestlers are in NXT, and then went on to mention Indy Hartwell and Bronson Reed, who are not Australian, they are from New Zealand. But anyway, she did get Tony Storm right, which is fine, I guess. But yeah, could have mentioned a whole bunch of other Australians that have come through the ranks. Buddy Murphy, you've got Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, but no, they went with 2 New Zealanders, which is, it's all right. The match itself, though, was a good match. Personally, I was rooting for Ikami. I think he had all what it took to become the NXT breakout star of 2021, winning the whole tournament. However, they've decided to go over with the bigger man, and Duke Hudson picked up the victory after a move very similar to that of Wade Barrett. He used to call it the winds of change, and he definitely mentioned this a couple of times in the replay packages and stuff. But a good showing from both athletes. I think both of them have got a big, bright future on NXT. Seeing this, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw maybe Duke go through to the finals and win the whole damn thing. We then entered the final hour of NXT, and we got some women's tag team action. We had Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro taking on the Robert Stone brand. And I've been a big critic of Alea. I think in general, I think she's been pushed beyond where she should be pushed. I don't think she has what it takes in the ring. And this match slowly is turning my thoughts about her. there were some signs that maybe she's starting to actually get the grasp of professional wrestling. The match was fantastic, but a big shout out to Caden and Casey for putting the Robert Stone brand over. I think they did a lot of the hard lifting in this match. And listen, when you've got someone like Casey and Carter in a tag tandem, you know you're going to have a fantastic match. These are two of the best in-ring performers I think NXT has. Very underrated tag team as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had a NXT Tag Team Championship lined up somewhere down the line. They are just so good to watch. So fantastic watch. And their finishing move, the neck breaker into, it's a 450 splash into a neck break, or neck break into 450 splash is fantastic. And obviously, Casey's been getting some lessons from her husband, Ricochet, because that is just, that 450 splash he does is just chef kiss. Beautiful. The big talking point after this, the victory, of course, going to Casey and Carter. The big talking point is Aaliyah turning on Robert Stone and giving him a beatdown in the ring, a proper solid beatdown. Walked out of Robert Stone and her partner as well, walked up the ramp, and then we got Frankie Monet coming through and just looking at Robert Stone and just waving a little bit cheekily before exiting as well. So we've been seeing the seeds being planted with Frankie Monet and the Robert Stone brand. I thought she was going to be more aligned with Leia, but it seems like she's actually trying to help Robert Stone. I'm not sure where this one's going, but I'm intrigued. We then got the VIP of NXT coming out. It is Adam Cole, baby! I love that. And Adam Cole coming out, his usual squammy self, him, coming out as arrogant as everyone, telling us how he beat Kyle O'Reilly and that he is, in fact, the best NXT superstar of all time, backing it up with the defeating of, obviously, Kyle O'Reilly and telling everyone that the match at the unsanctioned match doesn't count because that's what an unsanctioned match is. It doesn't count on the regular books. So as it stands, Adam Cole has 1-0 over Kyle O'Reilly, but he wasn't there to talk about Kyle O'Reilly. He was there to issue a challenge to Samoa Joe. But of course, Joe, being the special referee coming up a bit later, didn't reply, and he said that there's no one in the back room who can step up to Adam Cole. Hit Bronson Reed's music, and the big colossal comes out himself, the New Zealand-born native. Big as always, coming out and saying, listen, Adam Cole, you're the master of mind games, and people that go through you always have something to lose, but since I don't have the North American title anymore, I've got nothing to lose, and stepped up to Adam Cole. Adam Cole just looked at him, about to say something, trying to land in a super kick. Bronson stopped it, took him out with a shoulder tackle, and he made the run. Adam Cole realized he got to pick his battles, and I'm intrigued with the Adam Cole and Bronson Reed lineup. It looking like it could be a good match. Bronson Reed's a decent worker in the ring. I mean, his match against Johnny Gargano for the North American title was fantastic. His match against Swerve was also really, really good, and he knows how to put people over. Adam Cole, he said it. I'm not going to agree with him. He is the best superstar in NXT at the moment. The man can't do anything wrong, and I think it's just fantastic that we're going to get Bronson Reed versus Adam Cole. We had a little bit of a tease with Samoa Joe coming out while Adam was on the ramp. Just ignored him flat out and got into the ring to start off the main event. With Samoa Joe standing in the ring as the special guest referee, we got Karrion Kross and Johnny Gargano coming out for the NXT Championship. And what a match. So we started off, like I said, it was an up and down NXT, which is very unusual. Very poor first hour. The second hour blew it out of the park. And much can be said thanks to Gargano and Karrion Kross. The two just delivered on what was expected. I mean, you have one of the best workers in WWE when it comes to Johnny Gargano, known as Johnny Wrestling for a reason. The man cannot do anything wrong, and the beast-like mentality of Karrion Kross just came through in full mode. And what was nice is that We didn't have the Way interfering. We didn't have Scarlett interfering. This was a nice, clean, good old-fashioned wrestling match, which was great. And I like the fact that they had the special referee in Samoa Joe, teased a little bit of tension between him and Karrion Kross. Gargano trying to butter him up a little bit was also quite fun to watch. And he called it straight down the middle. He was one of a dodgy calls when Karrion Kross had Gargano on the ropes with the sleeper hold and would count to 4. Should have counted 5 and disqualified him, but instead broke him apart. Obviously didn't want the match to end in a DQ, which is good refereeing. I think that's good refereeing. Then another point where Karrion was about to hit him with the staircase, and then Samoa Joe took the stairs away from Karrion Kross, forcing Kross to win legally in this aspect. So that was a bit of the tension. Karrion Kross did pick up the victory after a couple of blows to the back of the head of Gargano, as well as the suplex. It was just a brutal ending, which was a good ending, although I like the fact that Kross picked up the victory. What was the big talking point behind this, though, was what happened after the match. Samoa Joe doing his job, counted to 3, handed him the title, lifted up his arms. Karrion Kross was happy, and then they sort of got it getting in each other's faces, getting a little bit angry. And then we had the incident. The incident that all of us wanted. Karrion Kross put Samoa Joe in a sleeper, took him out unprovoked, might I add, which means we could be seeing the in-ring return of the Samoan bulldozer, Samoa Joe. Maybe a little bit too soon considering his return, or maybe just right, we don't know. A lot of guys were hoping for Joe Adam Cole first before we got Joe Karrion Kross. I'm excited for Karrion Kross, Samoa Joe. I think it's 2 of the best hard-hitting guys NXT has at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised if Joe goes over on Karrion Kross, which then means we get Joe versus Adam Cole for the title. That might be interesting. Of course, not confirmed that this match is going to happen, but he was unprovoked. He was put in a sleeper hold. There's definitely going to be some retaliation from Joe on Karrion Kross next week. I can't wait. And that was the end of NXT. Like I said, a little bit of a lopsided NXT. The first half was a bit of a disappointment. We had some potential matches that could have been good. I mean, the Tyler Rust and Bobby Fish match should have been a lot better than it actually was. Maybe given a bit more time, could have been well over. Also, we had that Sarai and Gigi Dillian match, which was also a bit of a letdown. But the main event really did pick up NXT for what it should have been and put out a great show. Which brings us now to the Vaz scale. After getting all of the analysis, watching all the matches, this NXT show, which is probably the worst NXT show we've seen in maybe about 3 or 4 months, it gets itself an honorable 6 out of 10. Could have been a 7 or 8 had we had a little bit better matches in the mid area of the show, but that the main event did save this rating quite a bit. From me, though, your mother's favorite podcaster, Vaz. I'll check you guys again soon. Please remember to subscribe. Tell your parents, grandparents, lovers, haters, whoever you like. Every single day we've got content right here on PWC. So please, guys, click subscribe and notify and share the link with all your buddies. Whoever you want, please, guys, send it. From me, though, once again, till next time, peace and chicken grease.